What up, y'all? This is No Cap with Night God, bringing you the truth all day, every day. From the history of man to current day issues going on, conspiracies, aliens, strange stories, you name it, I cover it. If you're into the odd and mysterious, this is a channel for you. So, today I want to talk about, it's going to be a little longer episode. I want to talk about this document that I discovered online by just sheer luck. It was probably about 6 or so months ago, and I was researching another video on TikTok. I'm a TikTok creator. I have currently 1.6 million followers at NightGod333. And I got a little decent following going of people who share my views and maybe not always to a T, but for the most part share my views and like what I like to talk about, like what I enjoy talking about. So I discovered this document online. It is a document that is written by a gentleman named Simon Day. He called it The Secret of Secrets, the Buseji Mountain Secrets. Now, this content is absolutely mind-blowing. I might as well prepare you now. If you're not pretty much open-minded to anything, well, namely the actual truth, if you can't handle it, might as well go ahead and change the channel, because it's pretty mind-boggling stuff. It's pretty mind-blowing stuff. But for some reason, there's just something inside of me that knows it's true. It's absolutely true. Maybe not every bit of it, but the majority or the main point or the main context of all of it is factual. Mostly, if you listen, I'm going to read the document. Virtually nobody could find this online. I posted a video about it on TikTok talking about it, and people could not figure out where I found this document from. I ended up sharing the source mostly because I didn't want to be a gatekeeper. You know, at the end of the day, yes, I do have content to create. I held on to it for quite a while. I figured, truthfully, in my heart and soul, I am a philanthropist, I guess you'd say. If I could be, I don't have the money to be yet, but I love people, and I think that humanity should know what is going on, the truth of how we came to be here, the process of evolution, how we evolved, how far back history goes, how far back humanity goes, what the actual history of humanity is, and what actually the history of the earth is, because I think that actually they know quite a bit more than they say. I know quite a bit more than they say. They know for a absolute fact. I know because I actually have done mounds of research on the stuff. Connecting dots, it's crazy because you'll be researching one thing that you heard about and you'll make a connection with another topic that you talked about, and they'll coincide. And that type of stuff happening is, to me, what validates it. When you're talking about two important events, or, you know, two certain conspiracies that you're reading about and you're like, oh my God, wow, that connects to that one. That connects to that story. They're all interconnected. When that happens, it validates things for me. And that's not by coincidence, you know. If you do enough research, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Or just watch my TikToks and I'll feed it all right to you. Even better yet. Or listen to this podcast. I'm going to start trying to make longer podcasts, not just short stories that are only 3 minutes long. I'm going to kind of try and start treating it maybe a little more like a radio station, something like that. Started off by certain topics we talk about each night, take requests, willing to talk about anything and everything. So as long as it's mysterious and as long as it's the damn it, one screw up.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
As long as it stays within my niche, which is conspiracy theories, I'll even do cryptids, Bigfoot, anything you want to talk about, giants, Wendigos, anything fantastic, anything crazy. I'm down to talk about because, part of me, believes in it all in a way. And after reading this document, there is nothing that is not possible for where our world's been, where they're going, where it's going, where we're going, which is definitely not the good way right now as a species, as a human race. But, by putting out information like this is the stuff they should have told us from the get-go. This is the stuff they should have taught us in school. At the end of the day, the truth shall set you free, right? We should have learned the truth from the get-go. I think that humanity would be much different if we had learned the truth from the get-go, and we'd be heading in the right direction instead of the wrong, evil direction that we're heading in as a society. This document just verifies what's going to happen and what's going on here. It'll absolutely blow your mind, folks, and be prepared. It may give you a feeling of sadness, maybe, at times, at certain times. But mostly it's in the beginning, that's at the end. In the beginning, it's absolutely amazing what you hear. And stick around because you're going to want to hear it. As I said, this is The Secret of Secrets, Bucegi Mountain Secrets. Bucegi Mountain is in Romania. And something absolutely out of this world was discovered there. So this gentleman, Simon Day, he wrote this in 2013, and he kind of did the same thing I did, stumbled upon something online by sheer luck. I like to think it's even fate because it's taught me so much about our world that most people don't know, most people can't even fathom. Most people will just snuff you when you talk about it. You have to be a higher level thinker to entertain this stuff. The people that don't entertain it, they can't fathom outside of their rat race and the matrix. Work, and work some more. Just a cycle of paying, working, and living. Humanity's not meant to do that. We are meant to be very powerful, higher beings, always innovating, always changing, gaining technology, gaining genius. And if people were able to do that and be free, live off probably the land, live off the land. They would be able to tap into these unique characteristics and traits that we could achieve and that higher beings have achieved at higher dimensions. We're doing, the government's doing great. Yeah, they can time travel. They can do all this different stuff, but, they got anti-gravity craft. They can travel at the speed of light, and the list goes on. I mean, they can do it, but humanity can't. They're holding us back. They're suppressing us. They're suppressing what we can be. And to me, this document finally proves that. So I want to share it. I think it needs to get put out there. I hope that Mr. Day does not get mad at me for deciding to share it. It needs to be told. I mean, obviously he wouldn't have put it online if he didn't want it to be told. So spread the knowledge, fam. Spread the knowledge of this. Don't be afraid to tell people. Tell the story. Whether they like it or not, who cares? You get the vibe and bail out if they don't want to hear it. But you'll get people. There's certain people that do care. There's certain people that are fascinated by the unknown, the history, the fantastic, the ancient, archaeology. It's just amazing. I mean, all of it is just totally amazing. I'm hopefully going to be lucky enough to do this for the rest of my life. I'd like to be a creator. So tune in, and I'm going to have merch coming soon, and along with other things like that. Might do some necklaces, bracelets, anything you can think of. Request any type of swag at all. But I'm going to go ahead and start reading this finally for you guys. I know I've been rambling. I apologize. But I'm going to go ahead and start reading this document. And stay tuned. Listen and don't go anywhere, because it's crazy. So this is Simon Day narrating the story. At the beginning of 2012, I was reading through some posts, and one in particular was rather mundane, and I was about to leave the thread when I noticed a link and just clicked on it. This link opened up to the most amazing and incredible research journey I have ever been on. Since January 2012, I've been researching something incredible, and now I am going to reveal this bizarre story. What I read was so incredible that I spent the first few months trying to debunk it. Because if it were true, it would change my views on everything I've ever learned. No matter how hard I tried, I simply could not. He could not debunk it, fam. The reverse was happening because I kept finding confirmation after confirmation of its validity. That's crazy. Daniel once said to me, must be a friend, that I'll never find the truth online, and he was almost right. When I first discovered it, there was only 2 websites talking about such a thing, and they were almost impossible to find. This one was hidden deeper than anything I've ever seen before, so buried it required an incredible fluke to even find it. I have given this information to a small handful of researchers, and I have spoken to many people who live around the Buseji Mountains. The researchers have all found their own confirmations, and the people around Buseji all talk of the events, historical and present, that happened there, things that entire villages have witnessed and or discovered. What this document will hopefully show you is what I found and some of the connections. Although what I discovered was regarding Romania, it is very strongly connected to the Giza pyramids, but especially the Tibetan mountains and Mount Kailash in particular. Tibet is in China. I have terrible trouble verbalizing what I know. I have found dozens of references to this discovery in ancient texts and even the Bible. I grasp the idea, but then forget the words. I am absolutely positive that the locations do exist, and I believe that much of what has been said about what's inside is in fact true. I have enjoyed debunking conspiracies, and I don't classify myself as a conspiracy theorist. I am a free thinker and a truth seeker. Without letting go of old beliefs, this document will appear completely crazy. But I ask you to really think about how much of our history do you really believe is true? And do you believe that perhaps there are many things being hidden and not told? Absolutely. The truth would set the world free, but there are plenty who never want to lose control of this total fear-based society. So, this is a quick summary of a discovery that happened in 2003. Since the declassification of new ground-penetrating radar 2 years ago, which has actually been around since the 1980s, the most staggering data has emerged of a complex labyrinth of underground systems in various parts of the world. At places like Guatemala and the South Americas, tunnels have been mapped under the Mayan Pyramid Complex and Tikal, which extend a full 800 kilometers to the opposite side of the country. Investigators remarked it was possible to understand how 500,000 Mayan Indians escaped the decimation of their culture. Way more than 500,000. So, there are 4 primary tunnels and further subtunnels that lead into deeper and bigger places which you will have heard of, but with different names. In these tunnels, you will find huge rooms with huge tables and stone chairs for people much, much taller than us. The projection room contains all of Earth's history and can be replayed visually. A table where you can perform holographic experiments with DNA, mix and match anything you wish, and see what the results would be. The rooms were created over 50,000 years ago, and actually I think they're much older than that. If that's based on carbon dating, throw it out. It's much older. And each is connected to each other, protected by an energy source which activates all as one is activated. The locations are near the Giza Sphinx in Egypt, Baghdad, Mount Kailash in Tibet, and the Buseji Mountains in Romania. The inner tunnels lead to a secret world under the Gobi Plateau in Mongolia and all the way to Antarctica. This connects to World War II and the German Tibet expedition, Romania being fast-tracked into NATO, Hollow Earth, the Eye Above the Pyramid, the war in Baghdad, Iraq, and more. Pretty interesting stuff, isn't it? Already got you, I guarantee it. All right, so what happened in Romania in 2002? The Pentagon was running several military and geodesic programs using satellites based on the above technology, ground-penetrating radar, GPR. The satellite spotted a particular structure located inside the Buseji Mountains. The satellite scan of the mountain revealed 2 major energetic blocks. The blocks were made of artificial energy. The first was connected to the wall or the entrance. It was a wall of energy blocking the access to a tunnel. The tunnel would lead to a second huge dome-like or hemisphere-like form of energy, or energy wall, if you will, at the opposite end of the tunnel, near the center of the mountain. So, okay, the Pentagon was flying over. They were using some new ground-penetrating radar, and they picked up signals inside. The Buseji Mountains in Romania. The people from the Pentagon couldn't understand why the tunnel tuned in a sort of zigzag pattern towards the central zone of the mountain, nor the significance of the 26-degree angle of the construction. The structure was in a parallel plane with the ground, and the semi-spherical energetic blockage was situated on the vertical corresponding to the ridge rocks called Babel. Actually, as our measurement based on the Pentagon data showed, the vertical was coming out at approximately 45 meters from Babel, between it and the Busveji Sphinx. Now, there is a Busveji Sphinx. There is a Sphinx in Romania. It's much more weather-torn than the one in Egypt, but it is, in fact, a Sphinx. And they have said to believe that every location has a Sphinx nearby. Many of them we just haven't discovered. Massini acknowledged that there is something extremely important and was very well protected. Massini would be Hitler's lead of the expedition in Tibet in World War II. I don't remember his first name. Stefano, something like that, maybe. I don't know. I'll get to that. I'll get you on that later. A similar structure found in Iraq. Signor Massini led me to understand that the elements of the internal artificial structure from Busveji would not have been particularly attracted their interest had it not been for the fact that their representative from the Pentagon had noticed that the semi-spherical blockage had exactly the same frequency and shape as one from another secret underground structure that they had discovered just a few months before somewhere near Baghdad. Due to the reasons I do not yet know, which the venerable Massini hasn't revealed to me, those in power were extremely interested in the secret data the military espionage satellite had registered in connection with the strange energetic structure found in Iraq's underground. Shortly after the discovery, the war started with Americans. What a coincidence. Which, with total secrecy, had access to that area while the Iraqis didn't know a thing about it. No, not true. Saddam Hussein was looking for it, and he was very close. Massini said that no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't penetrate the energetic wall, but he didn't give me any more details. The whole operation was top secret. He stated that what was there was connected with our planet's mysterious past, but in a certain way, with the history of their organization as well. Massini also said that there was information about the planet's mysterious past and the history of their organization. When the Pentagon investigation noted the similarity of the data between the underground structure near Baghdad and the one from Busveji, he was suddenly very agitated. Initially, they've almost panicked. The panic was due to the fact that the structure, much larger and more complex than the one from Iraq, is on Romania's territory. No, it seems that Romania has a very important mission in the years to come. Above the Busveji Mountains, there is also an energetic pyramid. Its shadow can be seen twice a year, which has a protective purpose, and also keeps safe the true knowledge that will be revealed to everyone when the time comes. Yeah, right. Massini provided the correct plan to reach the tunnel, as it had been calculated by experts from the Pentagon. The breakthrough was possible close to 60 to 70 meters from the first energy barrier on the side of the mountain. Okay, so there must have been a switch. Massini promised ultra-sophisticated U.S. military technology to achieve the breakthrough to the first energy barrier. The first attempt going through the barrier cost the lives of 3 soldiers who had cardiac arrest as they tried to walk through it. It was a vibration frequency problem, I said, amazed by the calm with which I had spoken those words. Caesar looked at me surprised. Exactly, he confirmed. Looking for a solution, I closed my eyes and focused upon the energetic barrier. Shortly, I felt that it actually was alive, but in a very special way that I couldn't explain to those present. I felt that between me and the barrier's energy was a certain compatibility, something like a reciprocal sympathy, and that I had successfully passed the personal vibration test. I couldn't stop asking myself what kind of exceptional technological and spiritual development had those who had established this genuine frontier of energetic checking which present science can't even conceive of. Never mind about actually achieving. I then took a few stones from the ground and threw them towards the invisible energetic barrier. As soon as the stones touched the energetic barrier, they were transformed into a fine powder that fell on the ground, forming in a straight line. I was now looking at the amazed faces of the American officials and a few members of my team who were still on the other side of the barrier. I went to the wall and pressed the triangle from the perfectly finished stone square. the one you are looking at now. Actually, it was enough just to touch it because it doesn't move. It's fixed. Only its surface is carved in stone. The gate from which you now see just apart immediately started to glide smoothly and almost without any noise until it stopped in the position it is still in. That was the moment when all of us, for the first time, saw the great gallery. It was a moment of intense emotion. We were shocked that it was lit just as you see it now, but without actually containing any light source, at least any conventional light source that we know of. Later, I did more experiments, especially after we precisely marked the area where the energetic barrier acted. General Obadiah came and touched with only one finger the invisible surface of the barrier, and even if nothing serious happened to him, he still had a feeling of vertigo and nausea. The presidential counselor was violently thrown down to the ground, even though the contact between his skin and the barrier was very light. He recovered from his experience later under a doctor's supervision. After that, no one else was going to try through that energetic wall. The 3 soldiers who died probably had a simultaneous contact on a bigger surface of their body that was lethal for them. The problem is that people cannot stay in the invisible barrier for too long. This is the invisible barrier between the closed gate and the energetic wall. Those who can't go through it can't stay there for very long. We tried with a few soldiers, and after we closed the gate and activated the energetic barrier, they told me that they felt like they were suffocating, and it became more and more acute. We therefore had to leave the energetic barrier as well as the gate open. But as you have already seen, we placed 2 guards and we installed an alarm to prevent any unauthorized access to the Great Gallery. The iris identification system resets itself after 5 seconds, which is enough to cross the entrance line into the gallery and beyond the gate's sliding system. While walking towards the gallery, Caesar recalls the first time he entered there. Great diplomatic tensions. I got back to the base as fast as I could and entered the Americans' room, where I was also received by General Obadiah. Caesar continued to tell me, an unpredicted element occurred that ruined all the plans, ours as well as Signor Massini's. The Romanian press leaked something, I guessed. It was something even worse than that. Do you remember the discovery they made next to Baghdad? That there as well was an energetic barrier that couldn't be breached but was identical with the spherical shield that surrounded the big hall from there? I nodded. Well, the American counselor on national security issues got an ultra-secret fax in which he was informed that the energetic shield from Baghdad suddenly activated and started pulsating at a great frequency. The amazing information was that a hologram appeared in front of it, gradually showing Europe, then Southeast Europe, then Romania's territory, then the Bucegi Mountains, and finally the location of the inner structure within the gallery's corridor and the semi-spherical energetic shield that was strongly pulsating. It was pulsing. It was obvious that the 2 energetic semi-spherical shields were directly but mysteriously connected, and that the activation of one led to the activation of the other. Who knows, maybe there's a network of these kinds of underground structures all over the world. The bad news was that the U.S. presidency was informed of these events and made diplomatic contact with Romania through the secret services. In just a few minutes, the whole operation had been uncovered. The imminent arrival of a state commission from Bucharest has been announced to come and evaluate the situation. Did they want to take over at a political level? General Obadiah was called to Bucharest. It was a critical moment which put at stake even the existence of the Department Zero, or at least of its independent structure. The general had to justify the eluding political power. Before leaving for the capital, accompanied by those from the commission, General Obadiah talked with me, and we both decided to reveal all the aspects, intrigues, and plans of this year, including my relation with Signor Massini. The most difficult problem was to find exactly the right people to make the crucial, important report to, because otherwise all our intentions and plans would have been revealed and the repercussions could be fatal as far as well-being of myself and the general was concerned. The same could be said for national security. Meanwhile, I was stuck at the base, all work having come to a halt. The American team had been isolated in a tent, and the tunnel's guarding was taken over by the Army Special Intervention Troops. The diplomatic tension was rising because Washington pressured to have contact with the Pentagon's generals and with the president counselor. Back then, no one knew was in the big hall that was protected by the energetic shield. Any initiative or research operation had been stopped. No one was allowed in the base except for the guard patrols. The new situation was coordinated by two top generals from the Romanian army who permanently maintained contact with the highest political structure of Romania. In this entire extremely intense situation, the only one who managed to sneak outside the base, following a very special order coming from Budapest, was Signor Massini. I haven't seen him since then, but believe me, I've fully felt his influence in the way things unfolded afterwards. And I am referring here to the mute by very fierce fight between the Romanian and American diplomats, as well as to the nature of the political decisions that were taken in connection with the operation from here. Everything happened very fast. Just 8 days passed since those events. If I am here and you, as far as I understand, managed to get inside the projection hall, this means that General Obade was successful in Bucharest. Caesar mysteriously smiled. Mostly the answer is affirmative. The success was mainly bringing everything to the right people's ears, people with a great moral integrity who are also animated by a profound patriotism. The National Defense Supreme Council asked for an emergency meeting. Most were shaken by what they found out. An intense wave of approval towards the general and his activities was then spontaneously created. They immediately decided to continue the research under the exclusive command of the general and me. However, the diplomatic crisis had not been resolved. The American military were allowed to leave the country to the following day, but the team of researchers and specialists, as well as all logistics and devices, were kept here. We then thought that things were settled, and I was almost glad that they had happened the way they did. That way I did not need to pretend or give in, more or less, to the venerable member of the Masonic elite. Unfortunately, their force of influence and the pressure they exercised through diplomatic channels was huge. We had reached the end of the hall where it turned left suddenly, this time for 4 meters only. The sight in front of our eyes was truly grandiose. The gigantic arch the energy shield formed was a splendid radiant blue continuously crossed by intense bright white flashes. There was no more than 7 or 8 meters from the end of the hall to the energy shield. The arch created by the energy shield was included in the hemispherical cavity, but I noticed that the area behind was common to the rock wall. I estimated the level distance between the shield's arch and the room's ceilings was only about 10 meters. The magical light then produced by the energy shield was being reflected in wonderful sparks and shades on the rocky walls of the mountain. The beauty and the grandeur of that picture seemed extraneous, and my heart startled with emotion and joy. How did you manage to get inside? I asked Caesar, affected by the intensity of the feeling that the image gave me. It is much simpler than you would expect. The ones who planned the whole assembly probably considered the first energy shield to be a real touchstone for the possible entrance, estimating it was enough for the whole structure's security. I have to admit they were right. Nothing could pass the first energy shield unless it was a superior and profoundly beneficial consciousness. Even in the case of an atomic combustion, the assembly was very well protected by the mountain. Maybe that was the reason the big gallery started suddenly, deep inside the mountain. I cannot say, though, how they technically created it. The same day I entered the projection room you see in front of your eyes, I was alone as I found out the terrible mystery that had remained hidden for 50,000 years. You can hardly imagine the feelings I had in those moments. There are some aspects I cannot tell you, though. You mentioned this number of years before, I interrupted Caesar. How can you tell that this is the right period of the time all of this has been here? It was the result of further scientific examination of some data they offered that you will also see after we enter the room. All of the events I described to you have occurred since last week. Many of them happened very quickly, and the changes of situations were dramatic sometimes. I shall tell you everything here before we enter the room, as you will be thrilled at what you see. We stopped at the line of the demarcation between the big gallery and the gigantic hall inside the mountain that held the hemispherical energy shield. Fascinated, I was listening to Caesar while I was watching the exotic sparkles on the blue surface of the hemisphere. After the decision to continue the research under Department Zero's management, I entered the projection room several times and cataloged everything, working together with our team of specialists. The next day, however, the first contradictory signals appeared from the political powers. The order that followed one after another, revoking each other, were either strong or evasive and showed the existence of a big tension. I suspected that there was drama of a real battle. I had already sent over a secure phone line to the results of our discovery in the projection room. Apparently, that was the spark that lit the bomb. General Obade told me 2 days ago after he came back from Bucharest that the members of the Supreme Court Council for Protecting the Country were in a continuous meeting and keeping in touch with us after talking about the issue beforehand. They decided to make this tremendous discovery from Romania's mountains known all over the world. General Obadiah was part of the Supreme Court Council for protecting the country's structure, and his word counted a lot in favor of the declaration that Romania was to make to the whole world. He told me that there was some members of the Supreme Court Council for protecting that country that were strongly against it, but they were in the minority. The emotions got so high at one point, those people stood up and left the room. The president's advisors were continually coming and going, transferring information from the External Diplomatic Relations Office to the Supreme Court Council for protecting the country meeting. When the American diplomats were informed that Romania would make an international announcement of crucial importance for the whole world, everything turned to chaos. The general told me that he had never seen such a rush and panic among diplomats. Nobody knew the cause, but everybody suspected something very serious and important was happening. At one point, the Romanian president was called to have a direct phone conversation with the White House. That was a very special and top-secret discussion. He did not come back for a long time after that, but he informed everyone that a top American diplomat delegation was already on its way to Budapest. The information spread very fast. All the transaction deals between the Romanian state and the international financial organizations were blocked in a couple hours. The declaration of a state of emergency in the mountain area was expected any moment. The Ministry of Defense gave an order of general alert for the two officers. There were moments of great panic and even terror among those involved in this operation, as no one knew the real cause creating the current tension. The discussions between the American officials and Romanian officials took place without an interpreter. They were so violent that there were many moments of crisis when the diplomats yelled at each other as loudly as they could, uttering multiple threats with measures of retaliation. The good part was that the other states of the world had not found out about the problem yet. What did they want to declare? I asked curiously. Mainly, it would have contained the most important data of the discovery made in the Bucegi Mountains, giving evidence to the whole world such as pictures and other essential elements in order to clarify different aspects connected to the structure from inside the mountain. The greatest scientists would have been invited to study and search, and all the resources would have been mobilized to solve the numerous enigmas we were confronted with. But the most important aspect would have been the discoveries regarding the extreme ancient past of humankind and the real history that was almost entirely fabricated. Furthermore, there were other delicate elements that I can only reveal to you partially. But where did they know that all that came from? I asked. You will see immediately. Have a little bit more patience. The Americans reacted violently as the declaration would have shattered their planetary influence in a second. Even more, it could have thrown into chaos the economy of their country, maybe even the economy of the whole world. Actually, that was the main reason they invoked strong-arm tactics. They wanted to avoid panic and the disturbance of all the people on Earth. However, they did not suspect that the possible social anguish and disturbed condition might have appeared as a direct result of the lies and manipulations the ruling classes, especially the Masonic organizations, have been maintaining all this time. Through a very special diplomatic channel, a personal papal approach was received, advising towards great temperance before making the fundamental step for humankind. The Vatican had already been informed by the Americans, as it was considered by the latter a possible ally in blocking the revelations. Strangely, although revealing these aspects to the whole world would have reduced considerably the Vatican's power and its influence upon Christian believers, the Pope did not make a firm position against it, but hears instead for an efficient balance of pros and cons before presenting the declaration. He even communicated he would put at the Romanian state's disposal certain ancient documents from the secret archives of the papal administration that are very important to Romania and support the proofs of the discovery in the mountains. Finally, after 2 hours of discussion and consultation, a final collaboration agreement was reached with precise terms that balanced the interests of both countries. The Pope promised to make certain documents available to the Romanian state for the ancient papal secret archives, which are of great importance for Romania and also evidence supporting the discovery in the mountains. After 24 hours of talks, a final agreement occurred between the Romanian, the Vatican, and the U.S., and they chose to cooperate under precise terms, which included the USA fast-tracking Romania into NATO. The Romanian state was to postpone disclosure for now. Of course. Basically, that was just a big old freaking long story of why they didn't propose it. Good old US of A. God forbid they lose their power. So this is going to be the end of this first episode. It gets a lot better, trust me. So stay tuned. It'll eventually, basically the next one is the projection room, the semi-hemispherical room with the energy around it, what it contains, or what they contain, because there's multiple of them. So make sure you join in next time. Night God, no cap with the Night God. It's about to get interesting. See y'all later.